Morning, everyone. I hope you guys are all doing okay. I'm a bit unsure about what the sound is doing. It's been a bit quiet the last couple of weeks. So I've tried cranking it up. I might have cranked it up too much. I don't know. So I'm just going to carry on as normal, and Becca will ring me if it all goes to pot. Why don't I pray before we start? Father, again, thank you for Colossians. Thank you for coming round your word. Thank you that it is so encouraging. It is there to equip us for every good work. So I pray it would do that again today. Amen. Again, we have a small passage, so let me read it before we start. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behaviour, but now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. If you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope laid out in the gospel. This is the gospel that you heard and that has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and of which I, Paul, became a servant. The sound is really fuzzy, Sam just told me. Let me attempt to change that. Maybe I'll... Okay. I hope that is a bit better. Maybe I can, if I hold the mic, it might work and it will not fuzz on my shirt. All right. Cool. So I'm going to start with an illustration that might not connect, but it's this. Think back to the times when you were at school. And this might not have happened for many people. It didn't really happen for me either. But imagine someone wanted to fight you. Someone wanted to beat you up. What do you do? Who would you run to? If you could only run to one person, who would it be? For me, the answer is really simple. It's really obvious. I'd run to Chile. Chile is the biggest, strongest friend that I have. He's an absolute animal. He's a beast. In fact, I think he won his first amateur MMA bout last year. I would run straight to Chile. If someone was coming to beat me up, to attack me, I'd run straight to Chile, and I would not leave his side, because I know that by Chile's side, I'm safe. I definitely wouldn't have gone to a chess club friend, a scrawny little chess club friend, because they're simply not going to help. And you see, what I think's going on today in this passage with the Colossians is that they're tempted to think of Jesus as a scrawny chess club friend, not as the supreme, big Jesus that he is. So my question to us as we look at this passage is it's a weird one, but how big is your Jesus? How big is your Jesus? Is he big and strong like Chidi? Or is he just a scrawny chess club kid? We're going to look at what Paul says now. And I did this yesterday. Here is a helpful little highlighted version of what we're going to look at. And all that's there is highlighting how outrageously about Jesus this is. So he or in him or through him comes up so many times. But not only he or him, but all creation, all things comes up. Something just, you can see from the passage already, what is important is Jesus. And he's got something to do with all things. So let's go. How big is your Jesus? Well, Paul's Jesus is this big. The Son is the image of the invisible God. That's right. So Jesus is not an image. He's not like us, made in the image. He is the image of the invisible God. If you want to go anywhere to see God, there's only one place that you go. And that's Jesus. He is the image. Not only that, he's the firstborn of all creation. Now, that does not mean that he's the first thing made, but he's the firstborn. He has the rights and the privileges of the firstborn. So like the firstborn child of an estate would look out, I always imagine it as a farm, will look out on his father's farm and he will know that it is his. Well, Jesus looks out on all creation, knowing that it's his. Abraham Kuyper put it like this: there is not 1 square inch of this universe over which Christ cannot say, "This is mine." We like to think we have things, don't we? We like to think that our children, I haven't got children, but children are ours. Our friends are ours. But no, they're Christ's. Verse 16, for in him all things were created. It's only, we like to think that we create things, don't we? But if you think about it, at best, we just rearrange things. We've never created anything. But Jesus has. And what about the scope of the things that he's created? Well, it's things in heaven and things on earth, visible and invisible. Seems like pretty much everything to me. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, even the things that look so powerful, the superpowers of the world, well, Jesus created them. They wouldn't exist without them. Their power is completely subjected to him. Jesus is big. Let's carry on. All things have been created through him and for him. Jesus is the power source of creation. And not only that, it's everything it is for him. all the rulers, all the powers, all the authorities, everything that we've ever created or made or rearranged is for him. And he is before all things. He's the first. There's no one before him. It's him. I love this one. And in him, all things hold together. Again, I really like to imagine that I kind of at times have held my friendship groups together or held situations together. While the whole time, Christ has been holding every atom in the universe together. Jesus is big. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from among the dead. So Jesus isn't just the firstborn of all creation. He's the firstborn of the dead. There was a famous moment when an evangelist, I don't know where it was, but an evangelist was asked why he's a Christian and not another religion. Why does he follow Jesus and not Muhammad or whoever? And his answer was outrageous. Apparently he was an old guy. And he just said, when it comes to picking a religion, pick the one whose leader rose from the dead. And it seems like a bit of a silly point, but actually it's quite big, isn't it? I want to pick a religion whose leader has power over death. Well, and Christ. He's the first one to do it. And the only one. And in all this happens that Christ might have supremacy. He might show himself as the biggest one. So how big is Jesus? Well, he could not be any bigger. Verse 19, for God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him. Jesus is not the scrawny chess club kid. He is the full, supreme God. And then this is where things get a bit crazy for us. Because what does this very, very big Jesus do? Well, he saves. Verse 20, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, making peace through his blood shed on the cross. This big, big Jesus reconciles us. And look what happens to us. We were through things and we become through things. Once we were alienated from God. We were enemies in our minds because of our evil behaviour. We're in a pretty dire situation. 22, but now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body to present you holy in his sight, without blemish, and free from accusation. Christ's work is so complete that we are not only saved, we're not only made holy, not only separated. He wipes our slate clean, he wipes the past clean, and he saves us so completely that no one can even accuse us. This big, big Jesus saves us so utterly and convincingly that no one can bring an accusation against someone who is in him. And verse 23 is the first time Paul in Colossians really tells us to do anything. But it's basically the obvious thing, isn't it? Verse 23, if you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope held out in the gospel. Do not move on from Jesus. Jesus is big, and he's done everything to save you. So this command is not, it's not do loads of stuff, it's don't move away. Don't move away. Don't do it. It's not worth it. In fact, it's ludicrous or stupid to move away from Christ, from what he has done. So when we are tempted to think Christ is not so big, that actually we might need to go somewhere else for our problems, go somewhere else to find a solution for our sin, remember this. Remember how big Jesus is and what he's done for sinners like us. It'd be a good idea to pray that for ourselves right now. It'd be a good idea to pray that for our church. So why don't I do that now? Father, we are sorry when we do not view you as you should do, as big, as supreme as you should be. Father, help us not walk away thinking that you are small. Help us not move from the gospel. Amen. Amen. As usual, I'm going to play us a song. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope the song helps you reflect.
Should nothing of our efforts stand, no legacy survive, unless the Lord does raise the house in vain, its builders strive. To you who boast tomorrow's gain, tell me, what is your life? A mist that vanishes at dawn. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. His will be done, his kingdom come on earth as is above. Who is himself our daily bread? Praise him, the Lord of love. Let living water satisfy the thirsty without price. We'll take a cup of kindness, yet all glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All sinners slain is making all things new. Behold, our God shall live with us and be our steadfast light, and we shall heir his people be. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ.